Testing, testing.
Call the January 18th Planning Commission meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Testing, testing.
Can you hear this? Is this mic on? Okay. Okay.
But outside in the TV land, they can't.
That one's not on?
Test, 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 test. These are not on.
Is this any better? Possibly? Okay, thank you. Sam said his wasn't on. We're working out the bugs.
Testing, testing.
In absence of a secretary, I'll just go ahead and do the roll call. Mr. Iaquino?
Here.
Ms. Chick is late. John Zarzecki?
Here.
Brad Kuzno? Amy Steffens?
Present.
Cecilia Infante?
Here.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce the three new Planning Commission chairs, John Zarzecki, Amy Steffens, and Cecilia Infante. Everybody received a copy of the agenda?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Motion with support. I have a different view. I guess I would like to discuss the motion of the agenda. I technically have two different motions. I would like to make alteration to the agenda, and I can do that as a motion later. But I'll go through them. The first one being, I think we need to add an item under new business being the zoning official quarterly report, which would be 11E. And my thought on the public hearing, the unfinished business of 10A and 11A, new business. I feel that should be postponed. Reason being, the reviews by OHM and McKenna indicate excessive insufficiencies and require resubmittal by the applicants. And I move to postpone these items. And in the case of the Washtenaw County Road Commission, I would like to see that they submit details, data of structures, equipment storage, and any related info proposed on the Bryan well. And that be provided to and reviewed by both OHM and McKenna.
I withdraw my motion.
Thank you. Is there support for, I'll do it in two motions. Is there support for the motion to add the new 11E to new business? Have support. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And I'll make the motion again to postpone 8A public hearing, 10A unfinished business, and 11A new business until resubmittal. Is there a second to that? Support by Mr. Kuzno. Thank you. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. There's Ms. Chick.
Sorry, everybody apologize.
Welcome.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
You wish to,
No, please, go ahead. I can very well tonight.
okay. Okay, next item on the agenda is number 5, call to the public. Is there anyone that wishes to address the Planning Commission tonight? You have 3 minutes. I'm not familiar with how the timer works, but
I just have a question on your previous motion on the road commission project. There were several items in the review letters that we would like to address the planning commission on and get some feedback on as far as items related to landscaping and other items that we'd like to get some clarification on.
but
Did we do that here, or was there another chance in the meeting now to kind of walk through those items?
what I would feel is that you get back with the OHM representative and McKenna on all the items that they have on our review that we have read, and any additional also take up upon them at that time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey folks, Scott Brown, 7024 Nala Road. And Larry, thank you for getting that postponed, that 8A for Washtenaw County. I know that last time at the meeting when they asked for approval, that they asked for approval with reservations. Either they want it or they don't. I don't think somebody ought to be given approval with reservations in case they decide to do something different than what we approved. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other members for call to the public? Yes, sir.
My name is Jim Kugler. I'm with Falls North Investment, and I just question again, did you say 11A is postponed?
That's correct.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. I didn't want to walk out and, okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Any others for call to the public? Seeing none, we'll move on. Clarification from the commissioners. Is there any? Seeing none, we'll move to correspondence. I don't recall seeing any new current correspondence. I'd like to refer to Ms. Bird if there's anything that may have been. No, thank you. We'll move on to reports of committees. Board of Trustees report from Ms. Chair.
The Board of, excuse me, the Board of Trustees met January 10th. Appointments were made to the Planning Commission. John Zarzecki, Celia Infante, and Amy Steffens are new commissioners. Welcome to everybody. There were appointments to the ZBA, Steve Safranek and Jeff Lurkey as alternative, and the newly formed Farmland and Natural Areas Preservation appointments were made as well. Also, Ordinance 16-53, repealing 2 zoning districts and rezoning all affected parcels to the general commercial district, amending uses of the general district, commercial district, repealing or revising standards in various sections of the ordinance, was sent back to the Planning Commission for further discussion, specifically Section 36-390, items 12, 13, and 14, which would allow those businesses as permitted uses within a certain radius. The board also approved extending the contract termination date with Cobalt Community Research for their community survey. That's all I have.
Could you repeat about Cobalt, please? I'm sorry.
They extended the contract. The contract was due to terminate February 24th, and they extended it for 6 months.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chick. ZBA, I don't believe there was a, well, we don't have a representative, but I don't believe there was a meeting. Am I correct, Ms. Bird? No, there won't be one. Thank you. Staff, Ms. Bird? Nothing to report. Thank you. Planning consultant, Mr. Sloan?
Yes, a couple of items. As Trustee Chick had mentioned, the Township Board of Trustees has remanded back to the Planning Commission some zoning ordinance amendments that were recommended for approval by the Planning Commission a few meetings ago, or a couple meetings ago. And because it'll be remanded and we have some new planning commissioners, we decided not to put it on tonight's agenda just to give us time to introduce it. just to give the planning commissioners a heads up. It will be likely on the next agenda, and we'll submit some materials as if it were relatively new. We can bring up some old memos just to familiarize everybody with it, and then let everybody know the issues, why the township board sent it back, and it had to do with certain uses within a certain radius of the interchanges. So I won't get into too many details on that, but that will be coming forward, and we'll have background information on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sloan. Next item on the agenda would be adoption of parliamentary practice. Do I hear a motion to accept parliamentary practice for the 2017 year?
So moved, as per our bylaws require.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Aquino, supported by Ms. Chick, to adopt parliamentary practice for the planning commission meetings. I believe I have to have a roll call vote for this. Oh, I'm sorry. Certainly. Discussion?
Is there anything changing? Is this a different set of rules altogether, or is this similar to what we've been doing?
Per our bylaws, section 11-1, we need to adopt it yearly. And so again, that, to me, it's a procedure, yeah.
Okay, so we're not changing anything from what we've done, because we did monkey with those over the years, right? We've changed different things on how those are done, so that's in the bylaws, and the bylaws are staying the same.
Yes, sir.
Just want to
Yep.
Unless someone decides
doing something different altogether.
Well, I mean, we'd have to go through the whole procedural process for it to change again.
There was,
Yeah.
there was like Robert's rules this year, parliamentary rules next year, somebody else's rules next year after that.
I do have a comment. I mean, it's almost impossible to use exact. I'm not an expert, and I don't think anybody here is. It's very difficult, very dry, makes for a boring meeting. I mean, I'm sure we try to adhere as much as we can, but I don't think there's an intent to change anything from past. But the only thing I had a question regarding, perhaps Mr. Sloan might be able to help me out. It says at the end of the section that Mr. Aquino referred to in the bylaws, provide copies to commissioners, and I'm not sure if that's provide copy of the bylaws or if that's provide copy of parliamentary rules. I think last year we received something in form of I don't know if it was Robert's rules or parliamentary rules. We received a handout.
It was
Maybe
kind of a
somebody can
short,
refresh
a
me.
condensed version. We're not using the big, thick book. It's
Right.
a condensed version for the purpose of our meetings and making them expedient.
Is that what's being referred to then by copies to the commissioners?
Most likely it would be that document.
Okay, thank you. At this time, that being clarified, Ms. Byrd, if you could just provide that in the next packet, I think would be sufficient. I think there was a condensed version that was given last year, and especially with new members, if we could have them receive those and also current. So we do have a motion on the floor. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, but I believe I should have done a roll call vote for that, but.
Go ahead.
Mr. Aquino?
Yes.
Ms. Chick?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Mr. Zarzaki? Yes. Mr. Kuzno?
Yes.
Ms. Steffens? Yes. Ms. Infante, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
these mics definitely are not on, and my concern is that it's not on for people in TV land so that they're able to listen. Because if they're not on here, this understanding was in the past that they're not on for the recording either.
He's putting his headphones on.
Testing.
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
he's
I mean, they're
clarifying
definitely
it's
not
on.
on here in the room.
Okay. He's saying that it's on, Mr. Aquino.
That's fine, as long as they're on, so that people who want to watch this at home
Can
and who
hear.
are going to look at the recording are able to do so. That's my main concern, sir.
I agree. First time chairing, I don't have
I understand.
expertise
No, I know
on the
it's not you.
equipment, but
Yeah.
thank you. we'll do the best we can to speak up also. So that leads us to adoption of the 2017 meeting schedule. Everyone received a copy of that?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the Northfield Township Planning Commission calendar as presented from January 4th, 2017 through December 20th, 2017.
Is there support? Support by Mr. Zarzaki.
I just have a question.
Yes, Ms. Chick.
Do we want to meet on July 5th? Some people might be out of town.
I would, under discussion, I was going to bring that up also. I was going to, I would say that July 5th, it being a busy holiday week, may not be a quorum, but I'm not opposed
I
to,
won't be here.
I mean, in the past, you know, we have canceled meetings as we've gone along, if there hasn't been a lot
quorum.
on the agenda and
Yeah.
a quorum. And I just, in my opinion, if it's already posted on the site, which it is, yes, we could change it
Okay.
now, but I think it's always proper to keep it on until we decide to eliminate it later. That's just my thought.
That's fine by me. Any other discussion regarding that? Seeing none. So we have a motion by Mr. Aquino and supported by, who was it? Thank you. We'll do roll call vote. Mr. Aquino,
Yes.
Ms. Chick, myself, yes. Mr. Zarzaki, Mr. Kuzno, Ms. Steffens, Ms. Infante. Thank you. Which leads us next to election of planning commission officers.
I would make a motion to nominate Larry Roman as chair for the PC for 2017.
I will support.
Okay, motion to, by Mr. Aquino, supported by Ms. Chick, that I become chair
Yes,
of the
sir.
planning commission. Is there any discussion on that?
Do you accept it, sir?
I'll accept it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other nominations? Is there any other nominations?
But I think we're doing one at a time.
I'm doing one at a time.
Okay.
There's no other nominations.
You don't get, no, you don't get to
for chair.
back out, sorry.
Okay. All in favor for myself, for the chair, indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. I would like to nominate Ms. Chick as vice chair.
Support.
I will accept.
Thank you. Is there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Seeing none, all in favor for Ms. Chick for vice chair, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Is there any nomination for secretary?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Mr. Zarzaki, Commissioner Zarzaki, for secretary.
I'll support. Mr. Zarzaki, you accept that? Any other nominations? Seeing none, all in favor of Mr. Zarzaki for position of Secretary of Planning Commission, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And the last one, we have a ZBA rep from the Planning Commission that attends the ZBA meetings. I would like to make a nomination that Amy Steffens do that since she had previously been on the ZBA. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Support.
Brad.
Support by Mr. Kuzno. Amy, do you accept the nomination? Okay, thank you. Is there any others? Any other nominations? Seeing none, all in favor for Amy Steffens for ZBA representative indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. I believe that covers all the positions.
No, sir, we do have one more, and that's the Parks and Rec, which I have been
Okay.
that person for the past year.
I'll nominate Mr. Iaquinto for Parks and Rec.
I'll support that. Mr. Aquino, you would like to do that?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other nominations for the Parks and Recs representative? Any others? Seeing none, all in favor for Mr. Iaquino for the Parks and Recs representative for the Planning Commission, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Okay, so that brings us to 11E, which is the addition that I requested, made a motion for. Briefly, I had brought up this item in the past, in the fall, I believe it was September, and according to Article 31, Section 36-9716 of the zoning ordinance, and I quote, "The zoning administrator shall submit to the Township Board and Planning Commission a quarterly report in which a summary of the activities of the office is presented," unquote. In my time on the commission, I don't believe we've received such a report. And not only does the ordinance require this, I believe it would be a benefit to this commission in times of member transitions and administrative transitions, which we find ourselves in now, to help lend itself, for both background and checks and balances, ultimately, administratively. I would like to ask Mr. Sloan if he would like to comment on that.
Sure. Part of the services that McKenna Associates provides are zoning administrator services, where the person who carries out those services, her name is Vidya Krishnan. She's a planner with us, and she also staffs the ZBA meetings. So, she's been to meetings, she reviews plans for, houses, decks, things of that nature. When there are major land uses, a lot of times she'll review them beforehand, let the applicant know if the use is permitted, if so, if it's a site plan approval process that's required, or an administrative review process. So that's something that she actively does. She does keep a log of every application that she looks at, and we can work with the supervisor in terms of getting something that's in report format that can be submitted to both the Planning Commission and Township Board, just so that, whether you want to see each and every address, or whether you want just kind of the broad things that are out there that could ascend to the Planning Commission or Township Board level, whether they're applications or zoning amendments or things like that. So we can come back with some thoughts, and we can hear back from planning commissioners about what kinds of details you might want in the report. Unless you want to, if you have any ideas right now in terms of what you might want to see in a quarterly report.
Mr. Aquino?
So first off, I'd like to say that that is not something that falls within nothing against the supervisor, but we do have a staff person for building and zoning, and that should be through Mary, not through the supervisor. It's not one of the statutory duties of the supervisor. The township board as a whole has not assigned that to the supervisor, so that should go through the staff person that we have on staff presently, and that would be Mary.
Okay, well, we'll work with anyone who we need to in terms of carrying that out. If it's a duty that's called for in the zoning ordinance, we would just have to work with someone in the township administration in terms of how that'll be carried.
And that's what I'm pointing out, that is Mary's position.
Okay.
So not the supervisor. Again, I mean no disrespect to the supervisor, but that is that is the position she has with the township. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aquino. Is there any other discussion on the matter? No? Okay, we'll see. Oh, I'm sorry. I think we could either discuss it tonight, or if the commission pleases, we can speak, go over some items that we might like to see tonight, just to get a ballpark, but pretty self-explanatory. I my opinion is that any of the events that ultimately go to the zoning administrator, which is at McKenna, be categorized by date as to the item and what ultimately the item went to the zoning administrator for, and be by date and forwarded to the planning commission and the board of trustees. But I mean, if others would like more, I'm open to hear.
No, I think that's fine.
Ms.
I think
Chick.
having a timeline where it indicates exactly, on what date we accomplished what. But I would also like to see what we're still looking at and what projects are out there that are unfinished as of the quarter.
Okay, so more so cases than just an everyday question? Or
Yeah, you would just on a list of what we've been doing and what we're looking at doing, right?
I agree. I'm sorry, Ms. Bird? Yes, ma'am. Ms. Steffens?
Mr. Chairman, is there a date range that you would like for the report to cover if you have never seen such a report?
That's good question. I think it would have been beneficial had we gotten something this month, but obviously, our first meeting this month was canceled. If it's possible, I think it would be nice to look at the last quarter of 2016, possibly at the February 1st meeting, if it's possible to do that, Mr. Sloan. I don't know. Other than that, I mean, it would fall quarterly, so you would, looking at our calendar, I would see that April 5th meeting should be one, July 19th, bumping it back a week in case of possibly not having a meeting, the 5th of July. October 4th would be a quarter report to the, from the zoning administrator, and of course the last quarter would be, looked at the next year. So I mean, to give a time frame, especially in this case where the township manager left, and we don't know exactly who or what he may have been dealing with, as far as the planning commission's end of it goes. I mean, obviously he has probably a lot of daily contact with people or projects. Projects being more obviously important in my eyes, but something to that effect would just would have helped in the transition, I think. Ms. Chick.
I think that he's given that information to the supervisor during the transition period, everything that he was working on. He actually supplied a transition packet to us at the board meeting, but I don't think it has everything on it.
Okay, I was unaware of that. Thank
Yeah.
you. Anyone else? Oh, Mr. Kuzno.
Are you looking for stuff that's officially submitted and acted upon by somebody in the zoning world, or any contact that's happened from over-the-counter conversations or phone calls and stuff like that?
I'm speaking for myself. I wouldn't want to see the daily logs of phone calls or to that extent. I'm more concerned on possible projects or items that would appear to us, the planning commission, and ultimately go to the board of trustees.
Or ZBA? That's the other.
Or ZBA would be also helpful too, because we do have a representative for there also.
So those would be things that are officially submitted then?
That I would feel
With some sort of application and/or fees or something? Okay.
that
Just
would
making
be the
sure.
way I would lean towards.
All
I'm not looking to micromanage
Right.
the zoning
Agreed.
official. Yeah.
It just sounded like we were kind of heading in a different direction. I want to make sure we were.
No, if I was, I apologize.
Sorry.
Mr. Aquino.
Mr. Chair, so it sounds like, and this is exactly what I'm in favor of, is a synopsis. So that, and as an example, when you take a look at maybe the items that have gone in front of the ZBA, so that we can look at those and then be able to see if there's a trend, to be able to see if there's an issue that we need to look at changing an ordinance here or there with consulting from the consultants. You know, again, to me, that is why, one of the reasons why I would like to see it from the ZBA or the other issues. Because again, if there's a constant trend of an issue of an ordinance, as one planning commissioner, I think it's wise that we're made aware of that so that we can look at it and see if it is something that is worthy for us to change for the residents.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a good point. Obviously, that's one of the benefits of many, but certainly any information that would go to the ZBA would be, obviously interesting to us too. So,
Just one more thing. As long as
Mr. Kuzno,
we have a short meeting here anyway, it looks like.
we're not done yet.
Zoning administrator, that used to be Kurt Weiland, correct? Or is it still the case?
No, he is.
Okay, so
He's
now
no longer. There's
That's through McKenna now.
correct.
Okay, so that could be any violation that he's called out to look at to see. One neighbor says that Joe Blow's got a junk car sitting in his front yard for the last 5 years and I want it gone. The zoning administrator is going to take a look at that. Isn't that correct? That's part of the duties of the zoning administrator or not?
That'd be cool.
I'll refer to Miss Chick if for.
Okay.
That would have been Bill Lenahan, our ordinance officer, or ordinance person. He actually is gone as well, and we have an ad out for a new person. So we are looking. Anybody who's interested in that kind of a position, please send something to the township. But yeah, that would be that person if you have a complaint about a blight issue or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, again, in my opinion, I'm not, I don't think the planning commission's, it's not our job to oversee the ordinance enforcement.
Okay, gotcha. I
So
just
I'm I'm mainly speaking of items that would pertain to the planning commission.
Okay,
In
very
this, in this respect.
Yep, thank you.
What we can do is, maybe at the next meeting, we can provide a report for the last quarter of 2016 for a, October 1 to December 31 report, maybe something to the effect of 2 pages, synopsis of major things. We can look at it at that meeting. If it looks great, we can keep doing it. If we want tweaks, we need to do more of one thing, less of another, we can do it that way. But if we start with the previous quarter, then we can kind of rehash that.
Very good. It
Okay.
sounds good to me, Mr. Sloan.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so, I don't know if I should make a motion on this, I'm gonna make a motion to make it official. So I'm going to move that, that the planning commission receive a quarterly zoning administrator, report, as per Article 31, Section 36-971. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Mr. Iaquino. Any further discussion on the matter? Seeing none, we'll have to do a roll call vote. Mr. Iaquino?
Yes.
Ms. Chick?
Yes?
Myself, yes. Mr. Zarzecki?
Yes.
Mr. Kuzno? Ms. Steffens? Ms. Infante? I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Next agenda item would be approval of the minutes of December 7th, 2016. Everyone receive a copy of those minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the Northfield Township Planning Commission minutes of December 7th as presented.
And
Support.
Support by Mr. Iaquino. Motion by Ms. Chick. Dispense with reading, I take it.
Yes.
Thank you. Is there any questions or comments on the minutes from December 7th? Any other? Yes, Ms. Steffens.
Mr. Chairman, I will abstain since I was not at the
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. At this time, we have item 13, which is final call to the public. Is there anyone in the public that would like to address the planning commission? No. Seeing none, we'll go to comments from the commissioners, and I'd I'd like to start with Mr. Iquino.
Thank you. I first would like to say thank you to Ken Dignan and Mark Stanilecho for their years of service to the Planning Commission. They brought some very, they brought dedication as well as a good view of several different areas of the community. I would then like to welcome our new commissioners and say that I look forward to working with you for the best interest of the township in 2017. And thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Iquino. Ms. Chick?
I would like to also say exactly the same thing Sam did about our former commissioners. They did a great job, contributed a lot, and we learned a lot from them as well. And welcome to the new commissioners. I also look forward to a great year with all of you. And I think that was it. There was something else if I think of it. I like Jacob's beard. Oh, no. I do. I would hope that in the future, because of the two items on the agenda tonight that we had to pull from the agenda, that when we get these items before us, that before they even get to us, that all of these conditions that they're being brought to their attention, that they're addressed before they come here, because it's difficult for us to keep coming to meetings and rehashing the same thing. It's hard on them to keep coming and having to do the same thing. So if they could get all their ducks in the row before they show up in the door, that would be wonderful.
Thank you, Ms. Chick. Mr. Zarzeki?
I look forward to working with the commission. I was happy to see that these two items have been put aside. I just had quite a bit of concern over the lack of quite a bit of things being missing. Few mistakes among those that I had seen that I was going to question myself. Hopefully they come back with full documents this time that don't have all these questions on them. And I'll go from there.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kuzno?
Just ditto to the comments about the old commissioners and new commissioners. So, for a good year.
Thank you, Mr. Kuzno. Ms. Steffens?
I just wanted to say I'm looking forward to serving with the group, and also I appreciate the fact that these two items were removed from the agenda. They were not ready to be heard and should not come to the commission until all the items are submitted that the planner needs to review.
Thank you. Ms. Infante?
I just want to echo the same thing about thank you for removing or postponing those two items, and the warm welcome is hugely appreciated. I think we're going to have a very, very good time together.
Thank you. And I reflect that also. I welcome the new commissioners. Thank you for your trust in my being the chair. Bear with me. I'm sure it's been a while since I ran some meetings, but just bear with me as I struggle through, and I think we'll be okay. So I'd like to announce the next regular meeting as February 1st, 2017. And do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Move. Okay, motion by Mr. Iquino, support by Ms. Chick. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much.